Our first speaker today will be Craig Hoey. Craig is the manager of the Road Safety Branch in the Department of State Growth.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk today. As introduced there, yes, I manage the Road Safety Branch with State Government in State Growth. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the crash statistics that we have for younger people, things about being human that influence our road safety task, a bit about safe speeds and survivability in crashes, and I also want to introduce Grahame. Just before I start though, look, we have a vision in road safety, and that's that no one is seriously injured or killed on Tasmanian roads. We know that's a long way away, but we're working towards that vision. In terms of some crash stats that are relevant to 16 and 18-year-olds, we can see that males are overrepresented compared to females in the crashes that are occurring. That statistic between 2011 and 2016, there were 136 serious injuries amongst that age group. What we do is combine deaths and serious injuries being admitted to hospital for more than 24 hours to get some meaningful numbers. So of the 1,700 serious casualties over that period, 136 were people aged 16 to 18, which is about 10%. So you see it's quite a high representation. We can also see that young males are particularly vulnerable on our roads, and particularly when they ride motorcycles. So perhaps if you're thinking about getting a motorcycle, perhaps you could delay that and get some more training. And that's one thing we're looking at in road safety, is to improve the training for younger guys. A couple of important aspects driving sort of road safety research and how we might be able to improve the road toll. It's some basic fundamentals, and they are that our bodies are fragile. We evolved over many millions of years, I guess. Probably the worst thing that could have happened a couple of hundred years ago is we could run into a tree. Now, our bodies just can't withstand the forces that occur in a high-speed crash at 100 kilometres an hour. The other aspect is that we all make mistakes. Being human, we simply can't. We just simply can't do the same thing over and over again. We do make a mistake. So those two principles, that in a high-speed crash, they're going to occur because people will make mistakes. And so what we're trying to do is develop a system approach so that when we do make a mistake, the crash doesn't lead to death or serious injury. So there's really four aspects that we're trying to look at. We're trying to improve the road system, so our roads. If you look at the Midlands Highway, we have a lot of safety features going into that highway. The barrier, centreline barrier, wide edge lines, and good pull-off areas, so that when you make a mistake, you'll hit the barrier and that will prevent a head-on crash, or you might hit an audible edge line and that will bring you back onto the lane. We're also looking at safe vehicles. The improvements in airbags, ABS, traction control are all really having great impacts in improving road safety. We're also looking at road users, how we're trained, how we go about our driving task, and also as pedestrians, cyclists, all the road users, we're trying to just improve their awareness and so they're safe. And also safe speeds. So critically, we're trying to set our speeds on our roads to the infrastructure that the road can take. So a safe speed, you might have noticed that in Liverpool Street, that's 30 kilometres an hour. And that's because that's a safe sort of speed for around pedestrian areas. So in terms of crash survivability speeds, the science tells us that a crash with a pedestrian, you're not going to survive, or you're going to be seriously injured if you're hit at 30 kilometres an hour. And that's a bit of a challenge for us because we have urban speeds at 50 kilometres an hour, and we also have school crossing zones at 40. So they're really at the edge of survivability, and it's a lot to do about people's perceptions about what sort of speeds we can set. So we're trying to drive the speed down to appropriate levels. If we can't do that, we're trying to build up the infrastructure so that people slow down or pedestrians are protected. Even in the safest car that's on the road today, if you had a head-on collision at 70 kilometres an hour or above, you're most likely going to be seriously injured or in fact die. And just in terms of some of the infrastructure solutions, if you think about roundabouts, roundabouts are one of the most safest features of our road system. And they do that because they slow traffic down and they change the impact angle. So that while we might have a lot of crashes at roundabouts, we have very few serious injuries and deaths at those features. Now, also I want to introduce Grahame. So this point of that we're just simply not designed to withstand crashes at high speeds. Grahame doesn't work in my office. He's something the Transport Accident Commission in Victoria is working on. And he's designed, he's actually a life-size model, and he was designed to demonstrate what the body would look like if we'd actually evolved surviving high-speed crashes. And some of the features there, he doesn't have a neck, so he doesn't have that whiplash. He has his head's quite enormous, which is more helmet-like, yet his brain is only the same size as a human-sized brain. His chest has sort of airbags in it to withstand crashes, and he's interactive. So I encourage you to Google, if you just Google Grahame TAC, I should say, you'll find Grahame, and it's a very good website, and it works through all those aspects of his body that have been designed to withstand those high-speed crashes. And that might be, it might be a catalyst for discussion amongst the younger age groups. They could design their own sort of Grahame as what someone would look like to be able to survive a crash or a pedestrian crash. So I encourage you to have a look at that. And just finally, we could all do something. One of the principles for us is also that we all have responsibility for road safety. So myself, teachers, and yourselves. So use infrastructure that's there to protect you, crossing at lights, pedestrian islands or overpasses, use the cycle paths with available. If you're going out at night, make a plan. If you're going to be drinking, alcohol is a high contributing factor to crashes. If you're in the learning to drive phase, really encourage you to spend as much time in supervised driving if you can stand your parents. We have 50 hours as the required, but 100 plus hours, I would strongly encourage you to do that. And finally, buy or drive the safest car you can, which has got the highest star rating. And that's probably a good way to get to drive your parents' car, because you can have a convincing argument that your survivability will be much higher in a modern 5-star car. So just thank you for that, and thank you for your opportunity, for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you.